Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Run with Alli Live podcast. It's June 18th, and it is lovely here in San Diego, California. Jasper, how is it where you are?
Yeah, so I'm in Geneva, Switzerland. It's 8:30 p.m. right now, so the sun's setting. It's been a hot day, but it's cooling down a little bit this evening. And but yeah, it's been a lovely day so far.
Seems like it's summer a lot of places right now. Yeah, but thank you so much for coming onto the show. Real quick to the returning listeners on here, if you have not subscribed to the show, please do so after today's episode. And to the new listeners, you're here for a very good chat today. I'm excited you're here. And for you too, please don't forget to subscribe to the show after today's episode. So without further ado, we have Jasper McDowell. He is a coach. He is a 219 a marathoner, and I'm really excited to chat about coaching, training, and all things related. So, Jasper, thanks so much again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Ali. Thanks for inviting me on the podcast. I'm looking forward to having a chat with you about all things running and coaching. So yeah,
Yeah.
can't wait to get started.
Yeah. So, I would love for you, in your own words, to tell us about who you are in and outside of running and coaching and, like what you do.
Yeah, so well, I got into coaching about 2 years ago after finishing a master's degree in sports science. And I've been running for the past 12 years or so. I got into running when I was about 16 years old. I'm 28 now. And it was mainly through my dad. He was the one who inspired me to start running. And it all started on one afternoon. He was out, he was going for a training run and he asked me if I wanted to join him. And at the time, I was doing a bit of sports in school. I played rugby. I did fencing. I was also really into skateboarding, but I'd never really done much long distance running. And he told me he was going for a 7 kilometer run. And so I said, sure, why not? I'll join you. I'd never run that far in my life, so it was a bit of a challenge for me. And so we set off for this run together. Went out into the woods, and there was this beautiful, yeah, part of the woods I'd never actually seen before. So I got to discover a whole new area where I lived, and I felt amazing after the run. It was such a good feeling. I remember um, just feeling a feeling of accomplishment and just feeling good afterwards. And then I started to do that run every week, sometimes with him, sometimes on my own, and that's kind of how it all started through my dad. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that story. And coming to the sport at 16 years old, I'm not familiar with how things are in Switzerland. Did you go to high school there?
I did, yes, yeah. So I went to high
Okay.
school, and so at that time when I started running, I was in high school. So our high school here is from age 15 to 19, and
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Nice. Did you do
So
track and field?
so no, I didn't actually, because in Switzerland, they don't really have sports as part of the school curriculum.
Hmm.
So all the sports and activities you do is outside school. So there was no option to join the school track and field club. If you want to do track and field, you have to do it outside of school.
Okay. Got it. Interesting. So you started running with your dad. And did you say 70 kilometers?
No,
Oh,
7 kilometers.
okay. Okay. So
So
I was like, oh, did I? Yeah. 7 kilometers. Okay. Still long
yeah,
though.
so
Still
it's
far.
just
Over
yeah, it's
10K,
just over
right?
four.
So
Well, it's about
yeah.
four
Well,
miles, just over
well,
four
no, no.
miles.
I'm getting carried away here. I'm thinking miles. I can never convert kilometers to miles, but yes. That's why I love the marathons in overseas, like Berlin and Tokyo, because it's all in
Oh yeah.
kilometers. And it's like so confusing to me, but also makes it seems like it goes by faster, right? Because 1 kilometer is not 1 mile. So when you get to the halfway point and it's like 26,
hmm
it's a good way to break the race down. But anyways, not to get too off track here. Nice. Okay. So these are all amazing things, and thanks for sharing all of that. Um, I guess, you know, so you've come a long way since then. I would love to hear what everything looked like leading into running a 219 marathon in terms of
Yeah.
training, recovery, maybe nutrition, and anything else you'd like to share.
Okay. Yeah. Of course. So the 219 marathon that I ran was in Valencia in 2024, so just last year in December. And I would say, so I basically started the specific training block 8 weeks before, or yeah, just about 2 months before Valencia. And leading up to that, I had attempted already to break 220 a couple of times, but every time I went through the first half in about 70 or 69 minutes, and then I would slow down in the second half, and most of the time I'd end up finishing in 223 or 224. So I'd attempted it a few times already, and then I knew that this time in Valencia. So I never run the Valencia Marathon, and I'd heard so many good things about it, how fast the course was, how many good runners show up that just have creates these big groups of runners that all run together at these fast paces. So I knew Valencia. I really wanted to make the most out of the race and really arrive there ready to attempt to break 220. And I thought the best way to do that for me was to hire a coach, because up until that point I'd been self-coached. And I thought, because also being a coach myself, I'm always writing training plans and helping others. I don't really have the time or energy to focus on my own plan and how to really structure my own training. So I thought I would just give that workload to someone else for this block. So actually, a coach from Canada reached out to me. His name is Carl, and he reached out to me and he saw what I was doing, and he was really keen to coach me. So I said yes, why not? We'll give it a try. And so it was 2 months before, so in October, we started the training plan, and so it's something I was very new to, following the structured plan, because normally I would just kind of do my own thing. I'd just add in a few key sessions here and there and just run easy miles. And but this time I had, every day was different sessions to do, which I really liked. I thought it was also really helpful to just not have to think about it and just follow the plan. So yeah, we did this 2 month training block, and I really enjoyed it. There were some good challenging sessions in there, and it really gave me the confidence that I could break 220. And yeah, I spoke to my coach a lot, and he really believed in me. And I think also just knowing that he put in a lot of work to help me improve. Yeah, it really helped me believe that I was ready to do it. And then on the day of the race, just had a plan was to run 318 per kilometer. Well, that's about 519 a mile, I think. And then it just on the race day just happened, and found myself in a group of runners that were running at that pace. And we were in a group all the way to, I think, 35K, so it's 22 miles. So it was really helpful. There was even a pacer there who was pacing some of the women to run 219. So I thought it was absolutely perfect that I was in that group. So I just stayed in the back, didn't really have to do much of the work. And then it was around 25K or 15 miles. I started to go to the front of the group, and then found myself alone for the last, 5 miles of the race. But I held the pace, held it together all the way to the finish, and I was really happy with the 219, and I think it couldn't have gone any better really on the day.
That's amazing. And so I'm gonna actually throw some of the questions to the side for the sec, because I feel like if you are a beginner marathoner on here, or an aspiring marathoner, or someone who is looking to break sub 4, sub 3:30, Boston qualify, sub 5, get faster at the marathon is my whole point. I think Jasper, you share a lot of wisdom here, and I think picking your brain a little bit and making this like more fun in terms of strategy and things you did in your training would be beneficial for other people to hear. So we're going to do that, and you could, answer whatever you want to, or just say, no, I'm not sharing that. But I do think it's interesting. So in your training, what do you think? Training, not anything outside of it. What do you think were those workouts that kind of over time were those game changers to help you really boost your fitness for the marathon?
Yeah, so I think it's probably the specific marathon pace workouts in long runs. Um, and I think what made the difference in this training block is that I didn't overdo them. I feel like in the past I would tend to maybe do a bit too much sort of volume at marathon pace to try and um, to have the confidence that I can hold it for the the whole 26 miles. Whereas this time with my coach, we kind of dialed back a little bit and didn't necessarily do like a big like normally I would do sort of 3 times 10K at marathon pace. That was kind of my go-to session before, and I knew that if I could hold it for 30K of volume in training, I should be able to do it in the race. But we kind of dialed it back, and we did more about 20 to 25K max of um, volume at marathon pace within the long runs, and I think that helped just that I didn't overdo it really, and I saved that like big effort for race day, and I think that's kind of a mistake I would make was just doing a bit too much, whereas with having a coach kind of helped me hold back a little and really save the big effort for race day.
Yeah. And, I think that also like going from, it seems like, yeah, 18 miles at marathon pace at around 13 miles at marathon pace allowed you to get more out of your training, it sounds like. But I would love to talk to your coach because I'm just curious as to that rationale. I don't know if you train by time on feet, but an 18-mile run at marathon pace, maybe slightly slower, could be beneficial, right? Right, like with that like steady state
Mhm.
aerobic benefit. But interesting. Yeah, obviously to run at that fast pace is or goal marathon pace rather is a little more taxing. Did you do a lot of threshold training? Did you do any speed work during your marathon build?
Yep, I did a lot of threshold, a lot of speed work. I think even the speed work I did was even a bit quicker or a bit more challenging than what I would typically have done myself. So lots of work at 5K, 10K pace, and quite a lot of volume as well. And that really helps just make the my marathon pace feel a lot easier.
Hmm.
So that's something we definitely included every week is yeah, like 5K, 10K type workouts. And then the threshold as well, just slightly quicker than goal marathon pace, sustained over yeah, a longer amount of time. And those kind of sessions really help my race pace feel a lot easier and more manageable. And then also, so going back to the sort of shorter, longer efforts at marathon pace, we still included, those are within a long run. So I would typically be doing anywhere from 20 to 25 miles, but we added the goal marathon pace stuff towards the end. So running sort of steady at the beginning, and then doing the marathon
Mm.
pace sort of on tired legs. Um, so it's still kind of you have this a similar effect to doing like a longer session because you already have the like a longer warm up before the
Hmm.
actual marathon pace stuff kicks in. And yeah, that's also a good way to practice running on tired legs because you have to hold that pace for a long time and you're going to be tired towards the end. So it's good to get your body already tired, pre-fatigue a little bit before you go into the reps.
Yeah, and like really quick, there's a lot of to the listeners on here, there's a lot of like ways to get to the same goal. Running on tired legs, I think, is very important for the marathon. And there's a lot of ways to do that, right? At Jasper's level, Jasper, almost progressing your long run to goal marathon pace at the end of like a 24-mile long run, with those first miles being zone two-ish, if I had to guess, more warm up.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
also, looking at that amount of time on your feet for that workout. So, to the listeners on here, if you're an aspiring marathoner, don't just go out and do this, right? Jasper's worked up to this. And this is conducive to what he is running because he's going to be on his feet for, how long does that take you? Like a little under 2 hours?
Yeah, exactly. About
Yeah.
two
So
hours for a long
exactly.
run.
Exactly. And so for other people, if this is going to be taking you 4 hours, 5 hours in your training, not something you want to be doing. But that's why it's important to not copy programs and get a coach or work with someone who, you could kind of meet yourself where you're at right now. And thank you so much for sharing that. One more aspect on the training. what is your peak mileage per week or was it when you were training for that? Because you mentioned your workouts, so I'm just curious.
So I think I peaked around 150 miles per week.
Wow.
So yeah,
Is
so it's a
Switzerland,
lot of
are you
volume.
training at altitude?
So where I live in Geneva, well, it's not exactly sea level, but it's not high altitude either.
Oh,
We're
okay,
about
cool.
400 meters above sea level. So I don't know what that is in feet, 1,000 feet,
So
maybe just
you're
over.
close to sea level. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
basically,
But
yeah.
you train in the heat.
In the heat,
Yeah,
did you say?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so in the summer it can get quite hot, definitely. Um, and but then when I was training for Valencia in October, November, it was already the autumn, so the temperatures were already, yeah, they weren't as hot as the
yeah,
summer. But then what I did do
yeah,
is I ran on the treadmill quite a bit as well for some of the sessions. And in a way, that's sort of like heat training because, well, in my gym, there's no fans and it can get quite hot. We have no air
mm-hmm.
conditioning either. So just running for a long time, you have all the heat stays around you. And it's also a bit of a heat training stimulus. And then I would use the sauna as well after the sessions to add a bit more exposure to heat within the training block. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I would love to hear what is your recovery, what did your recovery and what does it now like? What does that routine look like during your training?
Mhm. So the number one thing for recovery is sleep. I always say that, and I always try to get 8 hours of sleep a night, and if I can, a bit more. But normally it's more about 7 to 8 hours these days. But yeah, definitely sleep is when your body heals and builds back stronger the quickest. And then the second thing is nutrition as well, especially around key sessions. So I really try and fuel well before a hard session, during as well. If it's a long run, if it's
Mhm.
anything over an hour, even sometimes less than an hour, I might maybe take some carbohydrates during the run just to help with recovery as well after the run. And then after the run as well, immediately within 30 minutes, I try to consume something with enough carbohydrates and a bit of protein to kickstart the recovery. And um, and then as well, just in general, making sure I'm eating a variety of foods, having a colorful plate, including
Mhm.
lots of yeah, fruits and vegetables, good variety, and yeah, plenty of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So yeah, that's the nutrition, and then everything else is a bit of a bonus. So I do have compression boots as well that I
Mhm.
sometimes will put on when I'm working. So if I'm at home, I can just put them on for an hour or so while I'm on my laptop. It's quite helpful as well, just to get the blood flowing. And then I have a massage gun as well. Sometimes if I feel areas that are a bit tight, I'll use the massage gun to sort of relax those areas. And then I also get a massage during the training block. I got a massage quite regularly, probably every
Mhm.
2 to 3 weeks, um, which yeah, was quite helpful as well for the recovery. I would have liked to do that a bit more often, um, but if I couldn't get the massage, I would just use the compression boots that I have. So that's kind of what I was doing for recovery within that
I love
training
that.
block.
Yeah, and it just really shows how holistic training is really important if you want to succeed in this sport. And obviously, we're all different, but thank you for sharing that because, as talented of an athlete as you are, you're also treating your recovery just as important as your training. So I think that that's important for anyone else to hear on here because it's great to hear you say that. It's not just the training. So, to the listeners on here, Jasper is doing everything to set himself up for success, to crush his workouts and his training, and even your race day, more importantly. So, yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. That was very thorough again. So I guess let's pivot to coaching a little bit because I want to hear, yeah, in the time we have left, more about your coaching. So with the runners you work with, like what are some common obstacles you see them face and how do you help them overcome these challenges? Or you can maybe pick three examples if you want to narrow that down.
Yes. So let me see. I would say motivation is maybe quite a common obstacle that some people face. That they One of the reasons they hire me as a coach is to have not just to have a plan, but also to have someone to keep them accountable and stay motivated to keep on training.
Hmm.
Because having a plan is good, but I think if you want to be a good coach, you also have to um, be there to inspire the person to do their workouts,
Hmm.
and just have someone there to answer questions or um, adapt the plan if things go wrong. I know life happens and not everyone can, um, you shouldn't really be putting your training first if you're not a full-time athlete. So of course we have to adapt things. And I think yeah, as a coach, you need to understand that everyone needs to have some flexibility around their training. Um, but then again, that shouldn't be the priority, but as well, um, even just outside of performance goals, it's also going to help you with your mental health, your performance, even at work. So if you can just find the time, even if it's you got the time to fit in the full workout, just shorten it a little bit. You'll still get some good benefits, and it'll help you with the rest of your day. Um, so yeah, sorry, I talked about a bit of everything
Yeah,
there.
I love no, you did. And I was just like making note of this because I love them. I could relate to them too, as a coach. And I love how you kind of said dropping the perfectionism. Not, you didn't say that, but you described,
Mm.
um, something is better than nothing, and finding the time to do what you can is okay. To the listeners on here, if you have a coach and you are following a plan, it's okay to deviate. Something is better than nothing, like Jasper mentioned. And training is not supposed to be perfect. So, and also, right, like you're supposed to adjust the training as you go to meet yourself where you're at. And that's what makes you unique. And that's what makes a program personal. So yeah, I love that you touched on those, and thank you so much. Two more questions for you. So, uh, you've got a big following on the gram, and I love it. That's actually how I came across your content, and it's excellent. So is there like a certain type of content that you find resonates the best with your audience? And like, how do you decide what to share based on that?
Yeah, so interestingly, I think that when I add sort of a funny element or some sort of comedy to my content, that's where I get the most engagement and most I think out of each post. Um, so again, I don't want to just be like the funny guy or just do kind of silly kind of videos. But it does help uh, yeah, reach a new audience and so I try and use that as well to include it in some of my content to also share a message if I can. Um, but then I also will sometimes try and post some more helpful tips and some stuff that's a bit more serious. So I think finding a balance between the two is good. So people will take me seriously, not just think I'm
Yeah.
yeah posting
Yeah.
silly
The
stuff.
balance between entertaining, um, and like the how-tos. I
Yeah,
think both are important. I don't do enough of
definitely.
the silly stuff. I should. I understand what you mean by people taking you seriously. But I think it's easy to get into your own head about this, but you are very professional, and like obviously you've achieved these accolades that people aspire to achieve. And a big message I want to give people on here is regardless of the time, I don't believe any pace is too slow. Personally, don't believe in junk miles, and I do believe in it's really important to hear what successful individuals have done, because these concepts are interesting to, take note of, right? Like Jasper didn't just get to a 2:19 marathon because he felt like running one. He worked towards it. So yes, I love your story, Jasper. Thank you so much. And one last question for you today. Why did you say yes to being on the Run with Alli Live podcast?
So I actually love listening to podcasts. I think I listen to more podcasts on my runs than I do music. So a huge fan of podcasts, and um, I just really wanted to be on one. And yeah, this seemed like a great opportunity to have a chat with a like-minded individual. You know, you're also a coach and a runner, so I thought we get along well. And I just love the whole idea of podcasts, so thought it'd be great to be on one. And I do love this podcast as well. I listened to a few episodes before coming on just to get an idea of what it'd be like, and I think it's great quality, good good stuff. So yeah, well done for what you're doing. It's really good, and just keep it up. And I'll be listening along to all the future podcasts for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And, thank you so much for coming on here. I love this as a tool to get to the everyday runner, a variety of different individuals from all backgrounds. It doesn't matter what you've achieved, but it matters that you've worked to achieve something, right? And sharing that and paying that knowledge forward to, others and just having your voice heard, I think, because like there's so many good people that have good information to share. So thank you for coming on here. I really appreciate you. And to the listeners on here, if you want to get in touch with Jasper, his information will be all under my show notes once I publish today's episode. And other than that, guys, I'll see you next time. And Jasper, again, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ali. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.